Hey everybody, welcome to Top 10 Thursday on the Mana Leak. I'm John as always, and this week we're going to be looking at the top 10 8-drops in Momir Basic. Now, if you're not familiar with Momir Basic, you should go and check out this intro video right here that I did last week to get a good sort of overview of the format as well as a little bit of strategy on how to play it. It's a super fun, super random format in Magic, but it actually is kind of useful for figuring out board states and practicing your combat math and things like that. But definitely check out that video to find out more. The best strategy is to get to 8 drops and to make as many as possible. Get as many 8 drops. They're super powerful on average. Some are pretty bad, but you want to get there and make as many as possible. There are 116 8 drops in Magic's history, so this list was a little bit hard to put together to whittle down to 10. My short list was about 30, but there's definitely some creatures that just barely did not make this list. So definitely let me know what your favorite 8 drops are in Momir in the comments down below, but we're going to get to number 10 right now. At number 10, we have Breaker of Armies, an 8-drop Eldrazi that is a 10-8 that says all creatures able to block Breaker of Armies do so. This is the most recently added card that's on my list. It's an 8-drop, not 10-8, that makes the entire team block, and that will often end the game the next turn. By the time you get to 8 mana, there's usually a big board state on both sides, and if your opponent's team has to block this one guy and the rest of your team gets through, that's usually going to be lethal in most games of Momir. There are some cases where maybe you traded creatures back and forth for the entire way up to 8, and this is your first 8 drop, and it's not going to be that good, but in general, it's going to be pretty solid. And as you get through the 8 drop board stall, where they make an 8 drop and pass, and you make an 8 drop and pass, and you keep doing that, this is going to be amazing because you're going to have a bunch of other 8 drops that are going to get through. Super great, never upset to see this guy. Breaker of Armies, number 10. At number 9, we have Tidal Force, an 8-drop elemental. It's a 7/7, and at the beginning of each upkeep, you may tap or untap target permanent. So you get 2 of these per turn cycle, and it can be lands or it can be the creatures, and you can tap or you can untap. So there's a lot of versatility to this. But the biggest thing you can do, of course, is tap one of their creatures on their turn and tap one of them on your turn, which means their 2 best creatures are not going to be able to block. This isn't going to win the game the turn it comes down or the turn after it comes down always, but it is going to give you some serious inevitability and give you some seriously good combat turns where you're going to get some creatures through. So Tidal Force is just going to eventually take over the game, and it just puts your opponent so far behind by taking 2 of their best creatures just out. So number 9, Tidal Force. At number 8, we have Avatar of Woe, an 8-drop avatar. She's a 6/5, and she has some flavor text, basically. If there's 10 or more creatures 10 or more creature cards total in all graveyards, Avatar of Woe costs 6 less to cast. Doesn't matter in Momir. She has Fear, which is pretty good, so she can only be blocked by black or artifact creatures. And most importantly, you can tap her to destroy target creature, and it can't be regenerated. This is just amazing. Your opponent had better hope that they have all the creatures they've ever wanted, because they're never going to get another one. Every single time they make a creature, you tap Avatar of War and blow it up. So they're never going to get a new creature. And if they whiff, if they hit a Scornful Egoist, a 1/1 for 8, or if they hit a Naya Soul Beast, which turns out to be a 0/0 for 8 in Momir, then you can start picking off their other stuff they have sitting around. And eventually they're just going to fall so far behind. Just repeatable, unconditional removal is amazing in Momir. So Avatar of Woe is just fantastic to get super solid 8-drop, and she's going to be number 8 on the top 10 8-drops of Momir Basic. So number 8, Avatar of Woe. Up next, we have Sphinx of the Steel Wind at number 7. Sphinx of the Steel Wind is an 8-drop artifact creature Sphinx. That can become relevant sometimes in case of Metalcraft or things like that. But it's a 6/6, flyer, first striker, vigilance, lifelinker, protection from red and from green. So many keywords on this card and so many relevant, useful keywords. This thing doesn't tap, so it can attack and it can block. Your opponent's big green and red things can't even get through it. It's got first strike, so it blocks even better than it normally would. It's gaining you 6 life every time that it enters into combat. It's just huge. This thing can just end the game in a turn or 2 at most and put you just so far ahead. Even if they do manage to destroy it somehow, you just get so far ahead with that lifelink. Yeah, it's just super solid. This is one of the cards that I love to see. It's one of the ones that stick out in my mind as being absolutely amazing. So number 7, Sphinx of the Steel Wind. Next up at number 6, we have Scourge of Care Ridges. Scourge of Care Ridges is an 8-drop dragon. It's a 6/6 flyer, and you can pay 1 in a red, and Scourge of Care Ridges deals 2 damage to each creature without flying. or you can pay 5 in a red to have it deal 6 damage to each other creature with flying, which I sometimes forget. I sometimes forget that it doesn't kill itself, it just kills everything else. At 8 mana, when you actually get this thing down, you can kill basically everything on the ground. You can pump 8 mana into this and deal 8 damage to everything on the ground. There is very little that anybody will have cast, or not cast, but gotten down off of Momir, that will actually live through this. So you can wipe the ground with this creature. Next turn around, you can probably wipe the skies, except for Sphinx of the Steel Wind, because it has pro red. But you can just wipe the board with this thing, and basically reset the game, except you have a 6/6 flyer, which is probably going to be enough for you to close out the game in just a couple of turns. Scourge of Kara Ridges is just absolutely fantastic. It's one of the cards that you should name if you do hit something like a Phyrexian Revoker, where you name a card and stop activated abilities. You don't want your opponent activating this ability. Super good, Scourge of Kara Ridges, number 6. At number 5, we have Stormtide Leviathan. So you know all that work that you go through in Momir to not get island walked? You play 6 islands in your deck, and you don't ever play them unless you really need to, because you don't want to get island walked. Well, this creature throws that all out. Stormtide Leviathan is an 8/8 island walker. All lands are islands in addition to their other types, and creatures without flying or island walk can't attack at all, yours or your opponent's. This is just crazy. It throws everything out that you were trying to do to not get island walked, and it just basically shuts down the game. Very few creatures are actually going to be able to attack, and nothing can block the Leviathan because it has island walk, and everybody has islands now. Being an 8/8, this will just close out the game in usually 2 turns at most, maybe 3. And if you're lucky and you actually got some flyers, it's going to be even better. Your opponent is going to have a serious flying board to actually race this. So super good. Number 5, Stormtide Leviathan. Up next at number 4, we have Vorinclex, Voice of Hunger. Vorinclex is an 8-drop legendary Praetor. It's a 7/6, it has trample, and whenever you tap a land for mana, add 1 mana to your mana pool of any type that land produced, so you double each land. Whenever an opponent taps a land for mana, that land doesn't untap during their next untap step. This does everything that you want to have happen in Momir, and everything your opponent does not want to have happen in Momir. This lets you instantly, the next turn, start casting whatever creature you want. You have 16 mana available, and that covers every single creature in Magic's history, up to Draco at number 16. Of course, you're probably going to go 15 and try to get an Emrakul or an Autocathan Worm. Hard word to say, Autocathan. But yeah, you're going to get any creature you want. Name a mana cost, you can make it with Vorinclex. Your opponent, on the other hand, gets to make 1 more 8-drop. They get to make 1 8-drop, and then next turn, they can't do anything because all of their lands are still going to be tapped. So they have to start taking every other turn off. They're going to have to be so far ahead to get through Vorinclex that it's very unlikely to actually happen. And by the time you get an Emrakul out and start destroying their permanents, things are just looking super bad for them. So number 4, Vorinclex, Voice of Hunger. At number 3 is one of my favorites, Trench Gorger. Trench Gorger is an 8-mana Leviathan. It's a 6/6 trample. That doesn't sound too good, right? But there's more to this. When Trench Gorger enters the battlefield, you may search your library for any number of land cards. Very important. Exile them, then shuffle your library. If you do, Trench Gorger's power and toughness each become equal to the number of cards exiled this way. Now, of course, in Momir Basic, every single card in your deck is a land. That means you could exile your deck. But then, of course, you would draw a card and lose. So you don't want to do that. But you can exile 20, 30, 40 cards, making this a 20, 20, 30, 30, 40, 40 with trample, and you're probably going to win the game next turn. I always misread this. It is not added to the 6/6. The base power and toughness becomes what you exile. So I always count out meticulously what I want, and then I wonder where that other 6 power and toughness went. It's because it resets back to 0 and then counts up. But yeah, what you do is you count how much toughness does my opponent have on the board? How much life do they have left? How much are they likely to get next turn? Assume they get a 7/7 or an 8/8, and then count that number of lands out, exile them, and you've got exactly what you need to win the game next turn. There are a few things that can screw this up, obviously. If there's a creature that has pro blue or something that can just kill this or anything like that, then you're not going to quite get through, but almost always you're going to get through with this next turn. So Trench Gorger, I love. I've gotten it so frequently in Momir as well. It's one of my most common 8-drops that I see, and I'm very glad for it being one of the most common that I see. But yeah, Trench Gorger, super awesome. Number 3, one of my favorites for sure. Next up at number 2, we have Platinum Imperium, an 8-drop artifact golem. It's an 8/8, and it says, your life total can't change at all. Nothing that happens will change your life total. You want to completely screw up a game of Momir, drop this and say, hey, you can do whatever you want to me, and it's not going to be a problem. You want to attack with your team? Cool. I will take it, and nothing will happen. No life total changes. Maybe they gain some lifelink or something, but otherwise you're totally good. The only way you can lose with this on the board is by infect, or by them removing Platinum Imperium somehow, which can happen, so you don't want to dawdle too much. But you end up in this sort of weird strategy question where you ask yourself, do I want to keep making 8-drops? In which case you might hit a Credact, Leviathan, something Leviathan, it starts with a K, that sweeps your board and would sweep the Imperium. Or you could hit Denizens of the Deep, which sweeps your board, which sweeps the Imperium. Or you could avoid all of that and just start building up mana. Get to 11 mana, make a Blightsteel Colossus, and kill them with Infect. Get up to 15, make an Emrakul, get up to something like that with Annihilator, and just start taking over. It's a cool little strategy. I usually stick to 8-drops. It's not super likely that you'll hit Denizen or the Leviathan, but you could still hit it. But if you have time, you can definitely start building up. There is one match of Momir back in the history of Wacky Wednesday. You could go back and find it. I don't know which number it is exactly, but I got a Platinum Imperium and my opponent got a Platinum Imperium. And so we just went back and forth and back and forth. We tried to get Blightsteel Colossi. And I think we both got one, and so they didn't really do anything because they would hit each other and they would kill each other because they would both get -11 counters on them. Eventually we got up to Emrakuls, I believe, and I won that match with 0 seconds left on the clock. My clock said 00:00. Super awesome match. If you want to go back and find it, it's one of the early Wacky Wednesdays, but I don't remember the number exactly. But yeah, number 2, Platinum Imperium, super awesome. One of the cards you beg Momir to give you when you're on 8 mana. Finally, at number 1, we have Hoverguard Sweepers. Hoverguard Sweepers is an 8-drop drone. It's a 5/6 flyer, and it says when Hoverguard Sweepers enters the battlefield, you may return up to 2 target creatures to their owner's hands. Now, of course, in Momir, every creature is a token, so when they go back to the hand, they disappear. They stop existing. It's basically a kill spell. This isn't really the flashiest of cards. This isn't as flashy as Trench Gorger or Platinum Imperium or something like that, but it's so massively useful. Being able to kill their 2 best creatures immediately and have a 5/6 flyer on your side of the board is just huge. This is the number 1 card that I always want to see off of Momir. If I could make nothing but Hoverguard Sweepers, I would be super happy. This card is just one of the best cards in Momir. Absolutely love getting it. It doesn't win you the game itself, but it just puts you so far ahead that you really can't lose that game, barring some supermassive bad luck, which is also par for the course in many Momir matches. But yeah, number 1, Hoverguard Sweepers. So that's going to wrap it up for my top 10 8-drops in Momir Basic. Definitely let me know which ones are your favorites down below in the comments. Do you like these ones? Do you agree with Hoverguard Sweepers? Which ones did I miss? There are absolutely a good dozen or 2 cards that didn't quite make this list, but definitely could have. But let me know in the comments down below. As always, if you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, you can find me on Twitter at The Mana Leak. That's L-E-E-K, like the vegetable, not the card. And you can also find me on Facebook at facebook.com/TheManaLeak, as well as Twitch at twitch.tv/TheManaLeak. You've already found me here on YouTube. You've got that comment section down below. Please like and subscribe if you enjoy my videos. And as always, if you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, let me know. Otherwise, I'll see you all next time.